Okay, so today I put out a little feeler. I have gone in a new direction with my tabletop role-playing game content. Something I hope everyone is noticing, and it's something I'm going to stick to. I'm no longer going to be really putting out tabletop role-playing game streams that are just based on my opinions, even though I think my opinions are valid, or I wouldn't have been doing that content in the past with my streams. Telling you more about what I think than going over all the details about the past, the history, the facts about what I'm talking about. I come to it assuming I'm talking to people that know this stuff, right? When I'm talking about certain subjects. So I sometimes feel there's no requirement to say something I think most of the audience knows already. But you do find out that a lot of people don't know the facts about many tabletop role-playing games, the history, about the designers, what they wanted. There's a lot of opinions out there that don't line up with factual statements from people like Gary Gygax. Like, Gary was pitching this, and you go back and look, and it's like, no, he wasn't. Not at all. At least that's not what the facts, that's not what his public statements support, that he's saying that. He's clearly saying something else. In some cases, you find out there's a lot of contradictory statements from people, designers, and opinions that can vary. Sometimes you can get a solid answer. Sometimes, like on alignment, there's a reason why the debate is confused and you don't have a solid answer. There's almost no solid answer. There's a solid answer for the edition you're playing, right? But you can't carry, for example, something like alignment over to each edition. Each edition varies in their approach to the alignment system. And for that reason, you sort of got to stick to the alignment, suit it to the edition. And that's why the debates or conversation around alignments, for example, can get very confusing and messy, because people are arguing for one edition against another edition's view of alignment. And that can confuse the dialogue. People can get set in stone on things they thought rather than what is fact. So, I noticed this. I noticed the conversations get screwed up in the hobby. And I said to myself, well, what can I bring to this that can help people talk about this subject? I notice a lot of guys that are supposedly old school who've been around for years. They say they have all this experience, and then they go into a stream and they can't talk about these things that well, it seems to me. And they have some weird opinions that don't match the facts. I've noticed since bringing out some of my factual streams, some people are starting to make different statements than they said in the past. And their statements now more line up with the facts, but their past statements don't. But they're hearing me give them facts, which is very helpful to adjust what they have to say if they don't want to look like they're full of shit or don't know what they're talking about. Facts will do that to you. If your statements don't line up with them, So that happens, and the more I bring facts out, the more I put a bit of fire to the feet of the conversation overall to get people to be more honest. I figured I could do that. I could help out the dialogue in the hobby by just being factual. I think my opinions still line up the way I've given them out over the years, but it lines up even more when I state the facts about what's going on with certain games and details. Now, I'm willing to cover a game called Hyperborea. That's a thing I put out a feel on. Hyperborea, an OSR clone. Something from bringing back old school gaming. So I want to go into some other OSR clones and work that I did not have a chance to do on last night's stream. Last night's stream got cut short, but don't worry. The areas I really wanted to cover, like basic and OD&D, original Dungeons and Dragons, that got covered all. I covered, after that, character death, the thought, TSR and Gary had on it. And then went into player versus player. I covered that in full. The alignment part is what seems to get cut short. But for the most part, I said what I had to say on it. And I'm sort of putting the cherry on top now. It's the OSR games that I wanted to cover that I didn't get to last night. So I figured I'd do a special on just OSR. And at least a starting OSR block where I finish off those two games and do an additional game. That's the Hyperborea pitch I'm making out there. I'm putting out a feeler to see if how many people want to see that. If that's something like a lot of people want to see or not, I don't know. But I put out the feeler there, so you can like this, and you can let me know in the comment section. You can like anywhere else you see me stating, do you want to see Hyperborea? Give it a thumbs up. Let me know you want to see that. So I'm doing this to all content going forward, including Hyperborea, which is bringing you a fact-based stream on the topic. Now, it doesn't mean I won't share my opinions, but you'll know they're separate from the facts I'm sharing with you. I'll communicate that the entire time. But these are a fact-based approach to all tabletop role-playing game pretty much content going forward, especially on the streams. I enjoy doing that, and I'm hoping people are enjoying it. Also, I would like to do more interviews with people, right? Anyone open to coming on the channel and having a talk with me, something in the vein of what like they see me do with Max Lee Owl recently from Legion of Myth. I had a great interview with him. It was almost 4 hours. I'd like to do more of those. It doesn't have to be 4 hours, but I'd like to do more of those, right? I really would. So if you're open to coming on the stream, let me know. I don't care how you let me know, but let me know, right? Inform me. It would be helpful because it's hard for me to know who wants to do that or even who to message about doing a stream with, nowadays. So, just let me know you're cool. And then I'll get in touch with you. No problem. I've been doing tabletop role-playing game content in a specific way for years, and I've had people enjoy the content. I've had good feedback over the years to the tabletop role-playing stuff I've put out, right? Outside of drama, right? I've had good reactions to it. So I wasn't too worried. Some people think you're being vague about something. Sometimes, it's best to ask you what you meant by something in the video, right? It's because I don't provide every piece of information. I'm a bit old school there. This is where I'm adjusting from, is that mindset of most people know a percentage of what I'm already talking about. So do I always have to come out and give the extra information to speak about the topic? And sometimes I felt that wasn't the case. Like I could just say what I think, and it's really meant for the people that know the thing. But that is ignorant to a degree with some people. Now, I get that, and I acknowledge it. This is the reason I'm making a change in the way I approach tabletop role-playing game content. Even if I do video form content, I want to do it more based on the facts than just my opinion. Because I get it. It's what people want. They want the truth. If I'm going to make a case they don't agree with, I'm going to have to bring facts. That's how it works. But in that, I think it makes my cases immensely stronger than previous. I used to tell everyone, old school was mainly focused on pure theater of the mind. I had so many old school guys push back on me. And I never understood it because I went at them thinking they already know this stuff. Why would they disagree with that? Only to realize over the years of talking to some old school people on here, they didn't. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know TSR was mandated pure theater of the mind over miniature use. Miniature use was optional. Pure theater, meaning without miniatures, was the core, was the mandated gameplay, right? That's how that worked. And I knew that for years. I knew that to be a fact. Yet I'd have old school guys that would disagree with me as if I was giving out an opinion. So I was like, okay, this is not an opinion, guys. Why are you fighting me on this? So recently I did a few factual videos on TSR, D&D and everything, and go into the details and the facts, showing everyone what I mean by the game was mandated pure theater of the mind. And that wasn't to be a smartass. I didn't even mean to be a smartass when I first made the statement. I actually thought this was just well known. I didn't think there were people out there with agendas drawing completely different pictures of what was real. And see, I came from the time, and I know it's real, like first-hand experience, being there, seeing it, and knowing it. And getting my time to talk to Gary on Dragon's Foot, right? I get to meet Gary in person. I get to do all kinds of things over the years as related to the hobby. I'm very happy with my history on it and the knowledge I picked up. And I love D&D. Here's what got me weird about looking into facts. I've been thinking about doing my own sort of like little biography at one point in life about my time in the tabletop role-playing game hobby. Not just recording how many games I ran or keeping track of all the players I had and all the hours I put in. I do that on purpose. I also track all the history of TSR, so I know this stuff really well, right? And I know the history of it. And I like to go into the facts and go, okay, if this is what is required to further the conversation or improve it, maybe that's what I gotta do. Stop assuming you guys know all this stuff and just give you the facts. And I think then it makes my claims less controversial or crazy. It makes sense of my claims about D&D. I know what I'm talking about. You know, I learned when I first came on the internet not to bullshit. I got caught bullshitting, right? Talking as if I knew something I didn't. Got shamed and embarrassed early on. Great lesson to learn, right? Don't be full of shit. Only bring people what's real. So the way I perform, I can do this in person. What I say about gaming better be what I really think and what I really think the evidence says, and to be honest. And that way, if people call me out, it's not about the ego of winning the debate. It's about the confidence of not looking stupid at the very least, which is at least I'm stating something that aligns with facts rather than stating something and being deceitful, acting as if it does when I don't even know, right? So now I mention stuff I know, and I have been doing that pretty much all the years I've been on YouTube, right? To be very careful. So challenged, I can back it up. You know, I can talk gaming, loose, on the spot, all day long. No problem. It's one reason I love the idea of going on streams and talking about games and boom, getting out there and doing it. But I can really do that because, unlike some people, I feel like I represent the real for me. Like, I don't just act like I can talk about games. I just can. And I don't brag about the years I put in. Oh, I put in 30 years and I gain more time than other people. No, I feel like there's some truth to that. Let's put that aside. Other people will try to paint themselves up as if they are me. A lot of people like to copycats. Just how it is out there, right? But when you're real, you should be able to back it up. So if you go on a Game Master Giving Advice stream, what you say shouldn't be vague or too generalized. You should be able to explain every statement you make. Say something stupid like, oh, you're an elitist this. Explain what that means in detail. Let's get down to the details and see if that is the case. See, when I go on and talk about these things or get on here, my only claim is no matter how vague my statements were in the past, if you looked into gaming, sooner or later, you'll come around to my thoughts. And I was confident that that would happen. And I got to say, I've noticed a lot of heat I was given years ago. I hope other people notice this that have been around for a while, following what I said and, you know, seeing how the language changes and the debate changes over time. Many people that laughed at me years ago in the tabletop role-playing game hobby now repeat some of the things I say. Like AI DMing. When I first talked about that could be a real thing coming really, really soon, I was told I was crazy, I was insane, and laughed at by a lot of people. Now, amongst the same people that laughed at me, the idea of an AI DM is so realistic, they're just wondering how you counter it. And they talk as if it's purely something we are going to see, most likely. Yet, the idea of it was, no, we're not there yet, we're not even close. I'm like, yes, we are. We're a lot closer, and the game, especially newer versions of D&D, for example, the book runs the game more than the person. I know that from actually doing it, having first-hand experience running 5e. I wasn't running it, I was managing how the game runs it between me and the players. Right? The game is running it, the book is running it, but I'm sort of going, all right, the book says this. Right? But that's how that game is. It latches on to the DM, takes freedom of how you do this away if you follow it. If you follow it. Some people don't. But for the people that do, which is many, it just turns it into where an AI could reproduce it. Because if it's just the book, like an AI running the game, an AI can take that place. I like old school. Old school is so freehand for the mind and options for the DM that freedom stops AI from just being able to copy us. Again, there are some guys in the old school that when I talked about freedom years ago, their counter was raw rules as written, which I said that makes a DM meaningless and the book runs the game, not the DM. And I said that is not old school. That's not a real old school mindset. I said if you tried to match raw over all the rules, raw rules as written, you're going to find out that you're misfiring, especially if you're an AD&D first edition guy. Because what you're going to be promoting is tournament play, not the casual at-home play that AD&D won't offer you. You have confused tournament play for what you casually do with your friends. And they are different. Though it's not like Gary didn't want you to take tournament play as something serious and apply it to your casual home game. There was some pitch to that, but overall the tournament play failed. And the reason is it's too strict. It's too less freedom. It takes passion to keep people around gaming. And the tournament part was a lot less passion for the people in the game, more of a job, more work. It felt like that for the DMs that ran it. And it flaked out pretty quickly. Like tournament play never became the permanent thing that made TSR D&D, even though at one point that was the focus. Tournament play was supposed to be what we do. That was supposed to be it, but it just flopped. And so I have to counter some people that push tournament raw rules as written. I get a pushback against them because they keep confusing it for what you do at home or what the options are doing at home. Yet if you read all this stuff and understand it clearly, 30% at home is raw rules as written, 70% you play with. At tournaments, to keep the tournament thing true for everyone, you can't have all these things be optional anymore. They have to become mandatory, but they're only mandatory under the conditions that you're in a tournament game. These things are no longer mandatory for the DM if he's running his group at home. But it is funny now to see guys out there that only a few years ago on some GM shows or tabletop role-playing game panels were saying, raw rules is written. This is how you do it. There's not a lot of freedom around it. This is exactly what D&D is. I don't know how many people said, this is what D&D is, and if you do something else, it's not D&D anymore. I'm like, right away statements like that tell me you have no real experience with TSR, Gary, the designers, and real old school era D&D. Tells me right away that you know next to nothing about the reality of what this is. This is all about freedom. Raw rules as written over the whole game is the complete opposite of what we do. That was only specific for tournament play, nothing else. Before it, it wasn't enforced. During it, even the casual at-home game, the same raw is not enforced on AD&D 1 DMs. And in second edition, which is more like first edition than most people want to admit, it drops tournament play. As it should. And it drops the idea of tournament raw rules as written. And so I see so many people, or hear so many people out there having a very flawed conversation. So I'm happy that with reality and the facts, I'm able to improve that dialogue. To let people know that no, we didn't run this strict raw rules as written gimmick, and that we were more freehand as DMs and creative with the freedom to do what we wanted with 70% of the game. That was always true, even in AD&D First Edition, especially in AD&D First Edition. So it's insulting to hear a strict mindset put on that from the tournament mindset. It's like, yes, I get what you're talking about, dude. The problem is, you don't know what you're talking about because you don't know the facts. So here I am, giving facts so I can be less frustrated with what I hear out there. So I can improve that dialogue. That's all. It's all. Do you have a big ego, Stephen? Well, guess what? I don't see enough people doing this in a way that squashes some of this really poisonous dialogue based on assumptions and not facts, but spoken as if this is the real history of D&D. It's not. So I'm here to share the real history, the reality of Dungeons and Dragons and everything around these things like Hyperborea and the OSR. So this year, I will extend out not just to doing the base TSR stuff. But I am going to cover a good number of OSR games. Give them the factual treatment, dedicate streams to them, and have fun. If you're in the tabletop role-playing game hobby, especially around the old school, if you like this new change in the content, this new direction I've taken, join me. Support me. Sub to the channel, right? Let me have a few opinions you don't agree with, and don't take it too personal. You don't have to like the content you don't like, and what you don't like, it's good to put a thumbs down on. The content you do like, give it a like. Please, though, sit back on what you do or don't like and be entertained, or take it in, or let it kill some time for you, or have your coffee and tea while you hear what I have to say. Knit, work on your miniatures, paint, do whatever while you hear me give you some facts about what this is, what we're doing, about what these games are. And these are facts that I'm sharing on these streams, not opinions. Like it's taking real public statements, real information, and I do not put an agenda on the facts, meaning I don't leave stuff out to push my own opinions forward, to empower them. I look at the facts, and if I think it empowers it, I state it as it is, for real, not out of context. I keep it in context, even with the things I don't like, and I give it to you full. And I'm hoping by offering you that, by making sure my own mind doesn't put an agenda in front of the details, and I share it that way with you, that's the type of content you're looking for. Factual, no bullshit, no agenda ran content, just straight facts about this stuff. All to inform you, have fun, entertain you, and help with the overall dialogue in the hobby. And I think it would. I think it'd make more peace. I think the truth will set you free. And I think we're stuck in a lot of debates and arguments and drama because the truth isn't being played out properly. The truth will set us free.